You're listening to 5 Minutes of English with Laura Pickens, a short podcast about the way we actually talk, like for real.
Why you sound bad in English. Hi, my name's Laura. I'm an American living in Russia and I work as a speech coach. I help Russian speakers speak English better, but I also have up to 17 years of English teaching practice here in Russia. I have worked with hundreds, if not thousands, of clients of all levels and all ages. And here's what I want you to know today. The reason why you are not speaking English as good as you think you should is because you have an idea of what you think you should sound like. I want to share with you a story from one of my clients, and I think you might start to see your own English journey within this story, and also some words of wisdom from me on how to get better. I was taking on a new client the other day. She was telling me that she has been learning English practically her whole life, from the very first grades in school to universities and even institutions for learning English. She herself described herself as a B1 level speaker. With making mistakes like I was go, I had to agree with her. As we talked about the problems she was having with speaking, one message became very clear. She felt her language level should be much higher than it actually was. And she's probably right because she has put a lifetime into practicing English. So, why is she still stuck on making these very basic and fundamental mistakes? So, what I had her do is I had her tell me a story in English, and then I had her tell me the exact same story, but in Russian. The purpose of this was I wanted to see what her true personality was in Russian, because that's not what I was seeing in English. Her English speaking self was stunted, scared, insecure, full of pauses and doubt. When I had her speak back the Russian version of the story, I heard a much different person. The pauses were still there, but the tone was much different. She was soft and feminine. It was something that was not coming through when she was speaking English. So I told her to go back to English, and then I saw the change. All the tension in her body came back. Her shoulders went up, her neck was clenched, and each word she spoke was clear and divided, and each syllable was very stark. All I saw was fear and a little bit of anger. Fear for not being able to be what she thought she needed to be, anger that she couldn't be that way. I realized at that moment she did not need to go back and relearn basic grammar. She knew the basic grammar. She knew she was making those mistakes. That's why she was judging herself so hard. What we needed to work on was her judgment, because that is how a lot of Russian learners learn in Russia. When you fail, you are taught through shame and guilt to not do that. So here she was, applying shame and guilt to her bad performance, hoping that that would somehow miraculously make her change. But all it did was make her more tense and more anxious, and I could see it in her body, I could hear it in her tone. So, this is what we're going to work on first. It is not about grammar. We need to reframe what language learning is. I oftentimes compare it to working out, sports. You can work out your entire life, be the championship weightlifter when you're in your teens. But if it's not something you maintain and practice every single day, you lose the progress you have made. It does not matter how much you did years ago, it only matters what you're doing today. The same is true of language. That doesn't mean that your knowledge disappears. It just means your ability to perform with that knowledge disappears. But it can come back, and it can come back quickly. In sports, we understand this. We understand that our bodies fluctuate. And we understand when we're unhappy, we just need to hit the gym, do the work, and we'll be back to where we want to be. For some reason, people judge themselves with their language ability to be their character, as if there's something wrong with them because they cannot speak as good as they want to or as good as they think they should. We just need to hit the gym. We need to practice. And it's not about training and learning how to lift weights again. It's just lifting those weights. It's not about training the grammar again. It's about using that grammar through speech and talking. So, what I'm going to do with this client and what I suggest to you is if you find yourself in a similar way, is to talk. not to judge, not to grade, not to go through and find the mistakes. It's to talk, and to talk in a place, in a safe place where you're allowed to make mistakes. Talk with someone who is non-judgmental, who is open and patient, or record yourself and listen to yourself, but with the same rules: no judgment and lots of patience. Another thing that is extremely important is the ability to laugh. Laugh at the mistakes, laugh at the moments where you totally crash out and say some garbage. The guilt and shame is not going to get you to the place where you need to go. Be mindful of your body when you're speaking. If you feel the tension in your shoulders, in your throat, in your mouth, you need to relax. And the relax is going to be physical, but it must also be mental. Lots of, it's okay. Take the deep breaths, roll your shoulders back, and do it again. If you want to see some more of the exercises I do with my clients, come join me in my public Telegram group. Every day I have something I've taken from one of my sessions that I think everybody could benefit from. You'll find the link to it in the description of this podcast. You can always find everything that I do at my website, which is laurapickens.ru. And with that, guys, I will see you in next week's episode. Goodbye.